today is Friday. As some of you already know, Friday is my veneration day, is the day that I make offerings. And for this week, I decided to make a very classic traditional Brazilian candy, which is pumpkin candy. By the way, this is my favorite candy. My mom used to make it a lot, and my grandma before her. But I am very angry right now, very disappointed, very frustrated, because I did everything I had to do this morning, and I came over to the kitchen to start with the pumpkin candy. And then when I looked at the pumpkin, it's all molded. Look at this. How did this happen, pumpkin? Oh, it smells bad. Now, why am I so frustrated? I am frustrated because now this means I'm gonna waste so much time. I'm gonna lose so much time because I'm gonna have to go out there, get another pumpkin. Anyway, look at this. Oh, I'm sorry for exposing this to you, but yeah, they don't make pumpkins like back in the day anymore. How did this happen? Oh. Anyway, we're gonna have to go out and get another pumpkin. Let's go. Okay, I have to confess something. When I was upstairs to get the elevator, I saw that someone was in the corridor about to get into the elevator as well. So what did I do? I ran for it and closed the door of the elevator as fast as I could. You know why? Because I don't like to share the elevator with anybody. I think sharing the elevator is like the most awkward 5 seconds that you can have in your day. And I do everything I can to avoid that. Okay, let's get back to the pumpkin mission. So the pumpkin problem was much easier to solve than I thought it would be. I was a little bit concerned because the other day I came here to the supermarket looking for a pumpkin and I didn't find any. So I am very relieved that I was able to. I got 2 pieces of it and also some roses for only $4.99, which is a great price for like many. In order to make the candy right, I asked my mother to send me some instructions on how to make it because it's been a long time since the last time I've made this candy. Let's hear it.
O doce eu faço assim meio que a olho, mas para você achar a medida certinha, você vai ter que olhar no YouTube que lá deve ter certinho. Mas eu faço assim, eu compro uma certa quantidade de abóbora, descasco, lavo, pico em pedacinho bem pequeno, coloco na panela e coloco uma certa quantidade de açúcar, que aí ela vai criar água sozinha, entendeu? Ao invés de deixar ela cozinhar um pouco ali, se vê que o açúcar não deu água suficiente, você vai pingando um pouquinho, não põe muita não. E deixa ali, entendeu? Aí o que você faz? Então vai mexendo um pouquinho no fogo baixo e depois que ela começar a desmanchar toda, se desmancha ela bem mesmo no troço ali. E pode botar um pacotinho pequeno de coco ralado se você quiser, ou então deixa sem coco mesmo. Esqueci de te falar, menina, negócio do doce. Você vai mexendo ele e deixa assim, ficar mais sequinho, até ele começar a soltar do fundo da panela. Aí já tá bom, fica cremosinho assim. Então esqueci de falar isso. Esqueci de novo, você pode botar um pouquinho de cravo da Índia, sabe aquela coisinha, aquele pauzinho de cravo da Índia? Até mesmo uma canelinha para ajudar a dar um gostinho.
Okay, now that we have the instructions for the candy, I'm gonna peel and chop up the pumpkin and get it started. A very pleasant surprise that I had in November was that Isha from A Coven of Two, my witchy BFF, was going to come over to Paris for an exposition, but in the end she wasn't able to come and she gave me the tickets for that exposition. It was a Mucha exposition with many works by Alphonse Mucha. He was and still is a very important name when it comes to the Art Nouveau style. So I went there and it was actually something very beautiful to see. His works were very bright and delicate, and to be honest with you, I didn't know about this artist before. There's a tarot deck called Mucha Tarot, but I had no idea that this was an artist who was so important for the Art Nouveau style, which is kind of very present over here in France. There was a lot to see in this exposition, and the thing that I liked the most was to learn about how much Art Nouveau and consequently the works of Alphonse Mucha have influenced so many different art forms up to this day. Thank you so much for the tickets, Isha. It was great. Last but not least, I got to spend 1 week in Portugal during the week of Christmas. I spent 4 days in Lisbon and the rest of the days, I think it was like 3, in Porto. Portugal is a beautiful country and I definitely got to see many amazing things. Not to mention that I got to meet a friend of mine from the time that we were au pairs in the Netherlands. We hadn't met in like 2 years. In the Netherlands, we had many similar struggles, and then after the au pair program, she moved to Lisbon and I came to Paris. So it was great to meet and catch up with her after all this time. But something that I had in the back of my mind all the time while I was visiting Portugal was colonization. That's kind of inevitable for me to think about, especially when I visited this big, enormous, giant square where they have a monument to the discoveries. It's a huge thing, probably made with the gold they stole from all the colonies, including Brazil. They have a very big square around this monument with this big map, this world map with ships symbolizing everywhere that Portugal passed by and where they colonized. While everybody around me seemed mesmerized and amazed by how brave those men were, and that was exactly what people were talking about around me, it seemed that I was the only person looking at all of that and seeing genocide. That was a map of genocide, of cultures that were destroyed, of rape, abuse, and slavery. It seemed that on that square, at least that day, I was the only person who looked at all of that and saw a big stain of blood. I have to admit that as a Brazilian, it was difficult for me to look at the beautiful things that they were able to build, considering that my country, that used to be a colony of theirs, to this day struggles to have the bare minimum for the population. And the indigenous tribe are still suffering the consequences of all of that to this very day. So visiting Portugal was a bittersweet experience that I can't quite describe completely. But now, on a more positive note, let's talk a little bit about offerings, shall we? So, as you know, Fridays were my veneration day. That has recently changed because I have started a new job. I have to tell you about that another time. But while I was in Portugal, I was not able to do any veneration at all. Just so, I would do something during that week. I didn't want to leave my entities hanging, if that makes sense. I just went to a flower shop, got some red and white roses, walked to a beach and also to a crossroads, and did a very quick and easy offering. Usually I don't have access to beaches. In the region of Paris, there are no beaches over here. So I took advantage of being in the Porto area for some days and decided to do an offering to Iemanjá. Iemanjá is the Yoruba deity, queen of the seas and oceans and deep waters, and she happens to be one of my patron deities. I have two that were informed to me by a high priest. Usually I don't work with them, but this time around, because it was the end of the year, I felt that it was right for me to pay some respects to Iemanjá. So I just walked into the beach all the way up to the water, and I threw the little bouquet of 3 white roses in there. It was no harm because it was just flowers and also 7 white pebbles. I asked for a few things that I would like for 2024 and offered the roses along with the little stones. Now, when it comes to my personal spiritual team, I looked for a very chill crossroads where there weren't that many people passing by. There was basically nobody passing by, actually. Then I just stood there for some minutes by a tree, had a conversation with my team, explained what was going on, what I was doing, why I was there, and this time around I didn't ask for anything. I just thanked them for being with me and being my guides, accompanying me and doing so much to help me out. Then I left the roses at the roots of the tree and walked away. I didn't really film this entire process because the whole thing is very personal to me. But if you want to take a closer look not only at my practice but also at many other spells that I teach, tarot readings and much more, make sure to take a look at my Patreon page because over there you have access to exclusive bonus content for only 1 cup of coffee per month. And how about you? How were the last weeks of 2023 for you? Share it with me in the comments below so we can exchange some ideas. As always, thank you so much for watching, and remember, practice makes perfect. So let's get witching. Bye bye and Happy New Year!